Hi, everyone, and welcome to this session. My name is Ana Maria. I work for UNDP Alternative Finance Team as coordinator of blockchain solutions based, and I am pleased to be with my colleagues in the room today to talk about the future of giving, how crypto philanthropy is transforming charitable donations. So, first, I would like to start by introducing who is in the room. So, let me share with you who we have with us. So first of all, we have Griff Green. He is the founder of Giveth. Griff is a leader in blockchain-driven philanthropy, decentralized governance, and cybersecurity. He has led with white hat efforts to recover millions from major crypto hacks and has been a key figure in Ethereum since 2015. As the founder of Giveth, he has facilitated over 4 million in donations to 5,000 plus social impact projects across 11 blockchains, including crisis relief in Ukraine, Gaza, Turkey, and others. Grief has co-founded is the co-founder of General Magic, Perwise, Unicorn, Eth, and other projects advancing Web3 innovation. He has also advised multiple blockchain initiatives, driving scalable, transparent, and sustainable funding models for social impact. So thank you so much for being with us today, Griff. I would like to move to Alvaro Cosi. He is the Senior Innovation Lead in Switzerland for UNHCR. Alvaro is Senior Innovation Lead, the national partner of the UN Refugee Agency in Switzerland. In his role, he leads efforts to foster a culture of innovation and experimentation within the organization to better address the needs of refugees and displaced persons. A key aspect of his work involves exploring innovative solutions from startups and tech ecosystems and connecting these solutions to the challenges faced by UNHCR. And lastly, we have the pleasure to have Paul Butcher with us, Head of Strategic Partnerships, Save the Children US. Paul leads strategic partnerships at Save the Children, combining the organization's development and funding expertise with technological innovation to enhance humanitarian impact. He specializes in developing partnerships that expand reach, diversify funding, and integrate emerging technologies like AI, blockchain, and cryptocurrencies. Paul is passionate about leveraging innovative funding mechanisms to create sustainable solutions that drive meaningful change for children worldwide. So, this is who we have in the room today. So, a big applause for all of our panelists. And we were hoping to have the most engaging session. So, we would like to actually take questions from the audience for our three panelists. In the meantime, while we warm up, I have a few trigger questions that I will be asking the panelists. But please, if you're connected, feel free to share your thoughts, questions, insights, and so on. So, in that sense, I would like to start by asking the first question. This one is for Paul from Save the Children. And Paul, we would like to know, Save the Children was one of the first international NGOs to accept Bitcoin donations. From your perspective, what are the key barriers that large traditional organizations still face in scaling crypto philanthropy? And what are the steps that are needed to overcome them?
Well, yeah, thank you. So, Anna, it's a pleasure to be here. So, as you say, we were one of I think we were the first international organization to officially accept Bitcoin back in 2013. And from a strategy standpoint, if the only thing we would have done is kept the Bitcoin we received then, we could have stopped doing everything else and just use the money from that. But I would say in terms of barriers, I mean, we have raised, I think, just shy of $10 million equivalent through crypto since 2013. It's been an interesting journey, and I think the initial barriers were around just sheer awareness and people a very small number of people that were actually involved in crypto. Um, and so there were psychological and awareness barriers. There were transactional barriers because people perceived crypto as a store of value rather than a transactional medium, and there were significant barriers to the donation process. Many of them on our side, and I think we're at the point now where those barriers have been removed or simplified. But I think the last hurdle um, is the ability to maintain the from donation to impact, to keep everything on chain, is the next barrier that we need to get through, because the serious um, crypto donor is not interested in conversion of their valuable cryptocurrency into fiat. They want to see impact delivered throughout the chain, and to keep everything leveraging the full value of decentralized finance and the blockchain, and all the strengths that brings can only be unlocked if you maintain everything within the blockchain. So I think that's the last hurdle that we're working on right now, and it's going to take some time for that last hurdle to be fully removed.
Thank you so much, Paul. Very insightful to understand the challenges from the perspective of human behavior and human norms, but also from the tech point of view, how to keep these donations on the blockchain network. I would like to ask the next question to Alvaro. So please, Alvaro, UNHCR has been pioneer among UN agencies in experimenting with crypto donations, especially in emerging contexts. What are some of the challenges and opportunities you encounter in using crypto to support displaced communities? And how do you ensure transparency and trust in such a complex environment?
Thank you, Anna. Thank you for having me here, actually. This is actually indeed like with other international organizations, and like Paul was mentioning, we really had to connect the dots between what's happening out there and really adopting the behavior of how people were using crypto. So very quickly, and not like push on users a new way of doing fundraising the way we wanted it. So we really had to adapt it. So with this in mind, like most challenges and opportunities that came up actually with us experimenting, exploring, and failing and succeeding sometimes. And little by little, we put up together all those pieces to come up with approved and, let's say, validated solutions. And we're still in the process. And as Paul was saying, we're looking into new tools of how do we keep this on the block, about transparency to increase trust as well. So that will be the hard part. But in general, we'll say that in terms of opportunities, very quickly, you had like the low hanging fruit. Like you mentioned it, in emergency situations, crypto really enables cross border donations and payments. And yeah, that's normally, for example, in countries like where traditional banking is limited or slow, that really helped us. So you have this example that we launched in Ukraine and also in Afghanistan. It's an example. Actually, my colleague, Common Head, this morning was talking about it. She's the one leading this project. Then for us, and I used to be head of communications for Switzerland as well. And for me, it was really a new world, meaning like it is a amazing opportunity to engage with a new community, people we don't talk to usually. So we tried, we launched things, we explored. It was a very exciting and interesting. And the NFTs, for example, a very good example. We launched an NFT thinking that we just drop it and it's gonna get us fun and just wait for it. And actually now we're not using it this way. We're using NFTs as either an impact certificate or actually a way to engage with our audience, like for example, an advocacy tool. So like an interactive like data NFT that shows what's the situation in country X, Y, or Z. And we thought we realized that actually this tool was much more useful for us this way. So we're still experimenting, and it's quite great. I would say also that as a big challenge for a UN organization, it's definitely like reputation, but I think it's for any international organization. Crypto is still associated with scams or illicit use, and different countries have vastly different laws around crypto, and this is. You're not going to be surprised to see Switzerland for UNHCR in actually the organization I work for. That's exactly why we're set up this way. We will be a kind of a joint venture of UNHCR in Switzerland, benefiting from the favorable like legal landscape that is present in Switzerland. Switzerland was the country was very, let's say, swift and quick in adopting laws that clarified the way you use crypto, and that we clearly benefited from there. That's why I'm part of a foundation that works for UNHCR in Switzerland.
Thank you so much, Alvaro, for all of the details and the enthusiasm on how to use this for better. And I would like to move to the third question we have for Griff, encouraging the audience that based on these first reflections that our panelists have shared, please feel free to share your thoughts, your questions. We're really here to actually interact with who has been connected. So we're really waiting for that. So the third question we would like to pull would be Griff. Giveth promotes a new way of giving that's transparent and community led. From your experience, how can these new digital tools help rebuild trust in charitable donations and give donors more confidence that their contributions are making a real impact?
Yeah, honestly, I feel like the as Paul said, right now, when you get crypto donations, generally people just have to convert it into another currency, and then it actually loses that transparency. So I would say in today's world, the transparency promise of crypto is not really as there as you would like. There are ways where it can become transparent, especially if you have more of a full work stream where the money goes directly to the people, and then the people actually have ways to spend it. You could create those flows. But right now, I feel like the community side is way more present. There were a lot of experiments early on with DAOs where communities could vote on how to spend the money. And there's a lot of experimentation in capital allocation. This is like a kind of a community of people, especially in the Ethereum space, that are experimenting with different ways of distributing funding that distribution is transparent. For instance, quadratic funding is one that's very successful, pioneered by Gitcoin, also used by Giveth, where it creates a nice incentive alignment between large donors who want to support more of a cause like open source or environmental funding, but they don't really, they want to support the whole cause. They don't necessarily want to pick winners and losers. And so you can collect their large donations, and you can use that as a matching pool that is actually distributed democratically as opposed to plutocratically purely. So based off of how many donations people get and how large those donations are, kind of a mix of both, that matching pool can be distributed so that small donors who only want to donate like $10 or $20, they can pick their favorite projects and get matched by hundreds of dollars in this case. And it creates this nice incentive because small donors, they're like, well, why do I donate? It's not going to have much of an impact. But then they can see, oh, I'm having more impact. Large donors, they feel like the wisdom of the crowds can distribute the funding. And projects actually have this great viral, like a viral message that they can send to their users. Don't to their fans. Donate just a few dollars, and it will help us receive hundreds, thousands of dollars. So there's a that viral marketing campaign is really nice. And actually, one of the things Alvaro mentioned is the NFTs and other unique ways of actually issuing a currency to create value for the people who want to support your cause. Early days, there was like in 2014, 2015, people actually made blockchains that were just focused on like CureCoin, just focused on sending sending compute power to people who are folding proteins for research in Alzheimer's and trying to cure diseases. And there's really cool products like Folding at Home or SETI at Home that then became tokenized. And those tokens created a network of people that were the top contributors to these kinds of shared resources. And so there's this, from early days experimentation with creating a blockchain that actually sends compute power to do good work, to like NFTs sales for Ukraine, raising millions of dollars just by issuing one NFT. But that asset, that creation, this creation of an asset is, I think, one of the really promising opportunities we have in the blockchain space to almost create an economy around the value that we want to see, the change that we want to see in the world and the value we want to create. There's a lot of the things that we're all talking about here, they just don't have business models, but they do create value. And I think that there's a huge opportunity somewhere in this space. And I wouldn't say we haven't really fully cracked the code to create like successful, sustainable economies yet. But there is clearly an opportunity to create economies around the value that we in this group often see and want to see produced, even though there isn't business models to back it up.
Thank you so much, Greg, for those reflections around business models. It is really relevant, definitely, for any social project to have clarity on how it's going to be run. We have already 4 burning questions from our audience, so we're going to move towards those. We have more or less still 30 minutes in our session. So if you could just take 2 minutes, each of you guys, to reply these questions, that would be great, so that we can cover them all. I'm going to start with a question asked by Diana. She's a researcher from Fraunhofer, Bonn, Germany. And her question is, what are the key implementation requirements to move crypto from philanthropy to pilot projects to scalable institutional adoption? So her interest is to understand how we can better scale these initial pilots into institutional mechanisms. So for that, I would like to first hear Paul, Alvaro, and then Griff, if that's possible. If you could take more or less a minute or 2 to reply this question. So please, Paul, if you could open your mic.
Sure. I think my mic is open, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So that is the key question. We large international organizations are inherently, they're process driven, and it's hard for changes to happen. So the challenge of getting from pilot to institutional adoption is probably the biggest challenge. We have, not just in crypto, but we have pilots running innovation. We have an innovation lab. We have pilots running in many sectors, and one of the biggest complaints always is, how do we then take a successful pilot and make it something that we adopt institutionally across the whole organization? I think the answer to the question is to align from top to bottom of the organization, to embrace the future vision of where innovation can take us, and specifically in crypto philanthropy, it's understanding the future value that can be unlocked in terms of, from donation to impact, the transparency, the everything that is unlocked by the potential needs to be understood by the organization, so that when a successful pilot occurs, it can then be incorporated into people's plans and budgets and adopted by the broader organization. So that would be my answer. Is it's hard, but it needs to be understood and embraced by the whole organization in order to happen.
Yeah, so definitely a lot of changes inside of the organization's culture, structure, how processes work. So it's a long journey. Building on Paul's reflections and insights, we would love to hear Alvaro how we can scale these pilots on blockchain.
Yeah, in addition to what Paul said, and I totally agree with him, it is indeed about showing the value of what the solution can bring to an existing project. And I was telling you all before about how we were like finding ways to connect with a new audience in this crypto world, blockchain world, new world, Web3 world that we had no clue about here before. And it's the same way around. Like meaning my main job is connecting the dots, like looking at what solutions are existing in the markets and then seeing which project could benefit from it. So first of all, it's really about finding the actual value to an existing project, to something like tangible help, tangible support that can be given immediately, or at least on a, let's say, on a reasonable time frame to an existing project. And then from there, it's really about building trust, showing the value, and then increasing and scaling that project and showing exactly how it can fit and match a project's need. UnityR works in a very decentralized way where regions work, like create their projects and programs. So there's no way we, and even less myself from Switzerland, a global north country, will tell anyone in the field, you do it this way. So it's really about showing the value and showing them how it can support their activities in the field.
Yeah, and
Thank
I'll
you so
just I'll,
much.
I'll just hop in. I'll just hop in to save us some time. Honestly, I feel like in the crypto space, this might be a little bit I don't know, a little bit challenging to say, but I think a lot of crypto ideas shouldn't scale, and they're not valuable. Sometimes we try a lot of things, and there's a huge lack of infrastructure in across the space for user experience, for on ramping, off ramping, for just real things that would make it more valuable. And I think it's okay if things don't scale. It's great that pilot projects fail fast before you try to apply them in a larger standpoint where they actually don't create value. One of the early things with, and one of the challenges I still have with Giveth is I don't feel like crypto is really safe enough often for users to use. And so I actually have a lot of trouble onboarding people, or like ethical concerns onboarding people, because I see them get like lose money through scams, through user error, sending money to the a right address on the wrong chain. Because what is a chain? You know, it's so complex, and I think there's a lot of there's a lot of room to improve, and we're working on projects to improve this. I'm sure I can save it for other questions that can improve the challenges that real end users have when dealing with crypto as a financial asset, which often they end up messing up and losing that financial asset.
Yeah, thank you so much for all of these reflections. I would like to move to, I'm going to pack two questions because now we have a lot of them. These ones are coming from Anonymous, very blockchain spirit. So I'm going to pack two anonymous questions. The first one is, how are you thinking about making blockchain usage simple in countries with limited access to financial and tech services? So how do we make this? And the second one is, how do we make sure, sorry, I'm just following what we see also on the screen. How do we make sure that only popular and famous causes, that not only popular and famous causes can get the necessary support? So those will be the two questions.
I mean, I can jump in and just on the first one because it
Please
kind of
do.
follows what I was just saying. I think there's a lot of opportunity with email login type solutions for holding crypto. And one of the project that I'm working on right now is called unicorn.eth. And what it does is it really simplifies the process of holding a wallet. It's a very safe, it's an account system with a very safe wallet built in. and it kind of automates the onboarding process. So when you receive funds, you can't actually just send it to a random crypto address. You can only send it in network or withdraw it to another more complicated wallet. And so then you could withdraw it, for instance, to your crypto expert, but you could use it in the system to vote. You could use your assets to vote, or you can engage directly with whatever applications people want you to engage with, and and also on ramp, off ramp directly, and basically. Unicorn.eth allows people to have a safe space where if they start to bring in more money, it automatically prompts them to add a backup email. Or even if they start to have a lot of money, it says, hey, go buy a hardware wallet. You need to like secure this a little bit more. But the onboarding process, if you don't have any assets to secure, is safe and simple. We also have daily limits. And basically from Giveth, I've seen so many scams from on nonprofits, whether it's phishing links or even people calling them claiming to be Coinbase support and convincing them to send all of their money to them in one way or another. And we've developed tools to make crypto safe within that context, but it's still non-custodial, where the user has complete control of their funds. And I think that's what we really need. Is we need these really simplified tools. And in the crypto space, too often we try to empower everyone that you could do anything with this stuff, but it's like giving someone a very complicated vehicle like a 747 when most people want to start with a tricycle, and they just, that should be their first vehicle, something easy to use. um, and one more thing that I was just thinking of reading through some of these questions too, I would love to see the UN create some sort of crypto exchange or something like that, where they're present in every country, and can exchange for currencies, because the off ramping and on ramping is a huge problem for distributing funds to around the world. So like you can distribute funds, to anyone with a crypto address. And that's so powerful. But then when they get the funds, how do they turn it into local currency that everyone will accept? And I could totally see a business for the UN and some of these global organizations in just being that last mile themselves, and even making a small profit off of that. That would be sustainable, because I think that would solve almost the majority of problems that is blocking crypto as a solution for a lot of the challenges that we use today.
Yeah, maybe I can jump in on that, because I agree with you 100% that the barrier is that last mile. You can't solve the problem, from Silicon Valley, and get money or resources to everyone that needs it around the world, because the local context is different in every case. And I agree with you that the solution that can help get the most needy individual the resources and money that they need involves understanding of the local context, and then that off-ramping process to get the resources and the money to the right people. Make sure that they are they're identified as the right people, and they receive the resources and the money. That's the challenging part, and I agree. There's definitely we have a lot of discussions going on with various organizations around that, because we feel that an organization like Save the Children is very well placed to be that.
And regarding maybe the second question, I totally agree as well. I mean, the last mile is really a key one. And although I work more on the philanthropy and fundraising aspect, it is indeed maybe a limiting capability to convert, crypto into fiat, because we cannot, reach all fields. And so we're working towards that indeed, and adapting also. But some ideas I'd like to really as well flag that the best ideas are the ones built in the field. And sometimes, you look at a solution like Pay, for example, that was also talking this morning. It's a solution built in Afghanistan by Afghans, and we actually use it for Afghanistan as well. So when you connect both, environments, that's the ideal, that's the sweet spot. And then your second question really talked to me as well, because that's actually the topic of why we were exploring new ways of doing innovative fundraising. Because for us, when you have like more and more what we call earmarked funding, when you do a donation, there's a lot of earmarked funding that is very much depending on mediated conflicts and crisis. So you hear a lot about probably Ukraine nowadays, Sudan a little bit more. But what about the other countries? The other like fields of operations were actually present. UNHCR is active in more than 130 countries around the world. We have like a global mandate given by the UN General Assembly. So we cannot just not, uh, because of funding, we cannot just not go there. For us, this question is a key one. We created, for example, a stake pool 2 years ago on Cardano, that actually all rewards were going principally into what we call underfunded crisis, or like protracted crisis that less people heard about. So this allowed like to have like a sustainable and let's say a sustainable way of funding those crises that are less mediated and less heard about it. Talking about countries like, for example, Central African Republic, DRC, and countries like that. So for us, that's exactly what we're trying to solve, partly with these new like innovative ways to new solutions to do fundraising. And on earmarking, uh, interestingly enough, blockchain could bring more transparency, but also could also allow us to send the funds where they are the most needed, or at least where people really don't know what's happening in the field.
Yeah, and I'll also add to this that there's a lot of opportunity with AI to really crunch a lot of data, crunch a lot of information, and actually outsource decision making to something that a machine that can be more objective and look at the data and actually decide that, hey, this is where the most impact can be had. Especially if we can define impact for it. We're looking at this. This is something we're building right now with Giveth, is basically cause agents. So an AI agent that you can just donate directly to that AI agent, and it will decide based off of the parameters that it can see what impact is the most valuable or most under rewarded, and will have the most impact. So we don't necessarily rely on normal people that can be so influenced. Now, I would say AI is not ready today for a lot of this decision making, but I think it will be actually really pivotal to solving this problem.
Yeah, I would agree with you 100% on that. I think at the end of the day, the donor, whether they are a large, foundation or a government, or whether it's an individual giving their small donation, they want to make sure that their donation has the maximum impact in whatever area they're interested in. And I think, how do we make sure that it's not just the most popular and famous causes that get the support? It's by making sure that the evidence and impact is transparent, and then the donor can choose where to give them their donation to ensure that the ultimate impact is achieved. So I think that would be and I think it's a combination of AI and the blockchain transparency that can deliver that.
I'm going to move to the next questions. I'm going to take three of them, but this time, just because of time, because we have a lot of them, I would suggest that if Griff, you could take on the first one, Alvaro the second, and then Paul the third question. So I will start by asking to Griff very briefly if you could share how blockchain as it is. This is also from Anonymous. We often talk about funding transfers, whether in traditional currencies or cryptocurrencies through blockchain. But what about non monetary assets like medicine? Can we also use blockchain to transfer medicine to people in need by tokenizing them?
Of course, we could, but I think this is a problem that happens a lot with, I've been in this space since 2013, and I've tried all sorts of complex solutions. And I think sometimes we get lost in the ideas and the complexity. And when trying to interface with blockchain and the real world assets, it's I think that's really great for stocks or financial solutions, but for physical assets, getting medicine to the right place, honestly don't think that I think that the complexity that it will add actually won't. Um, I don't think it'll actually bring the impact that we desire. It'll just make things more expensive, more complex from an infrastructure level. So yes and no. Maybe eventually we can make it work, but right now I don't think so.
Thank you so much, Brett, for the honest response. Not every solution is the solution for all, so that is important also to have in mind. And moving to the next question, we have this question from Malik. He's from a crisis and conflict advisor, Médecins du Monde Belgique. So this question, Alvaro, if you could reply it, tapping on your experience, the question goes as follows. I have a local partner based in South Kivu where the ongoing security crisis has severely disrupted the banking system. My concrete question is, how can cryptocurrency and blockchain technology enable me to transfer funds quickly and safely?
Well, that will be like the, let's say, I wouldn't say ideal scenario, but it's actually where we've shown that as UNHCR, actually, this is one of the use cases, and I agree with Rafe. Blockchain is not a solution for every challenge that we face, but in this case, indeed, where in emergency situations, where traditional banking is limited or slow, that's actually where we believe that there could be a room for improvement thanks to blockchain and payments. And the example, and my colleague this morning was discussing this. She's my common head. She's the treasurer, UNHCR treasurer, and she led this payment project in Ukraine and Afghanistan, and it showed like very good results, positive results. I'm showing that blockchain could be an alternative to for impact to actually reach the people in the field in a secure way and in a almost instantaneous way as well. So this is clearly, and I'm not a specialist of payment myself, but this is really what could be pushed and explored further in terms of an alternative way of really enabling the fund transfer in a safe and quick way.
Thanks. And moving to the third question, this one goes for Paul. If you could tap on your experience on Save the Children. This is a question again from Malik. And it says, many discussions on this topic are intellectual and stimulating, but lack actionable insight for frontline humanitarian workers like myself. What concrete steps can we take to make this feasible? I'll appreciate practical guidance. So, step by step on how to use this for a humanitarian worker.
Yeah, well, I guess that my advice on that would be start by speaking with the frontline humanitarian workers and identifying where the biggest problems reside that could potentially be solved by a blockchain-based solution or a crypto solution, and then work backwards from that. Don't just look for the coolest thing that somebody approaches you with, because there are lots of vendors out there that will try and persuade you that their solution is going to solve everything. But if you start with a problem that you're actually experiencing, and then look for the solution that will solve for that, that would be my advice. The successful pilots that we have run have started that way, with a problem and then identifying a solution rather than starting with a solution and trying to find a problem.
Thank you so much for reminding us the importance of human-centered design. And this also applies to the use of emerging technologies for sure. We have 4 more minutes before our panel ends. So I would like to ask two more questions that we haven't answered yet. I think we have the time if Paul, Alvaro, and Griff, you want to answer these two questions. That's a wrap up for the session. So the first question would be, and these ones get a bit more technical. Um, this one is from Yamen. He's a information management specialist in Amman, Jordan. And how can we ensure that the value of money remains stable despite the volatility of cryptocurrency exchange rates? I'm just going to read the second one. What are the best ways to bridge the expertise of impact organizations with technology providers and startups?
I
I
mean,
can take.
I'll just
Oh,
oh
good.
go ahead.
All right. For the first one, that was exactly the brief and the problem statement we had when we launched our Stakepool solution. So, how can you benefit from crypto without being hit by the volatility of crypto? So, what we did is actually create a stake pool where we didn't put any crypto in it, but we opened it and we operated it. It's on Cardano and it's still on, and so people will actually delegate their funds in it. And we created this concept of stake instead of donate. So we really had a lot of fun launching a new marketing campaign in a way for an audience we never talked to, pretty much. And for us, it was a way to mitigate the risk. So we are very risk averse institution, as you probably imagine. So it was pretty much every month we are converting ADAs into fiat, Swiss francs, because we're based in Switzerland, every month. So that really allows us to mitigate the risk and still benefit from crypto. So that's pretty much the first, let's say, use case with that same question. And can we not like get hit by the cryptocurrency exchange rate and volatility?
Yeah, and I'll just add stablecoins are the best of both worlds here. You can use the network, you have total frictionless cross-border payments without the volatility. In fact, they can be earning interest if you use a lot of the like SDI or any of these like even just staking it in Aave, it can be earning interest while you're holding it. So it can even be better than a stable currency. But also on the second question for bridging expertise, one of the things that I constantly see is crypto has historically had these 4-year cycles, and a lot of like true believers in crypto, they are working all through the cycles. But impact organizations only are interested when when the crypto is going up, and then when it's the most impossible time to get like experts who are deeply involved in crypto to get their time. But if you actually stick through it and you enter the bear market, because of the volatility of the space, organizations startups are constantly failing. And there's a lot of experts who really just want to build, and I would say bring them in house. I really think that that's the best way to go. Working otherwise, like Paul was saying, too often people are um, trying to propose solutions, and they have solutions that are looking for a problem. And I think that the better way to go is to bring someone in, especially in a bear market when there is low demand for this expertise, and bring them in and have them start solving the problem. Paul, did you have something to add too?
Well, I totally agree with that, because I think one of the biggest challenges is communication and understanding. All of us on the call today are sort of fairly immersed in this world, but the vast majority of people that work in these large organizations are not. And so there is a big, high degree of skepticism and still a lack of understanding. So I think the more you can bringing people in house is a great idea. Getting people so that they feel involved and not fearful, and then everything becomes a lot easier then.
Thank you so much. First of all, we really want to thank the audience. I think it's exciting for the panelists and for myself as well to have received so many questions and interactions along the way on what we were discussing. this would be a wrap up for our session on the future of giving. And I would like to just send out a big applause to Grief, Paul, Alvaro. Thank you so much for your time, your insights, and bringing along your experience to the room. And want to say bye from my side, but probably the panelists want to do so as well.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us.